Okay, so I'm going to show you two approaches here. The first is if we do like the whole process and use secondary authority and all of that. You would do that if you don't know anything about this area of law and you want some context for it. So I put in here the issue as, is the waiver language valid in Ohio, blah, blah, blah. Some search terms, in law school you may learn this as a release, a waiver, an exculpatory clause. Who knows what your jurisdiction is going to call it. So you need to be aware. You might need to search for all of those or some of those. And then some of the other terms like pre-injury, liability, sport, negligence. Now, I added, I wrote there amusement, and this one here should be recreation. From the research, I learned that the best searches came when I put in recreation or amusement instead of sport. So I learned that by trial and error when I was doing the research. And then I found the best thing was to go, for secondary authority, go right to Ohio jurisprudence. And then there was no codified law, which makes sense. This is a contract issue, but there was some good case law. So let me just quickly show you how I did this. The search I ended up using, I'll show you here in a second, is this pre-injury, release of liability, and amusement. When I put in sport, I didn't get as much stuff. I'm going to choose Ohio as my jurisdiction here. So I'm just putting in this search and then Ohio. And now remember, it took me some working with this search query to find some good stuff. But amusement was really the key, and I started picking that up from some of my searches. Now this section here, 76 Ohio jurisprudence, third series, premises liability, section 65. That came up with some really, really good stuff here. And here it is, the second issue here, or the second hit. Now, like right here, just says that basically the contract or the release has to be clear and unambiguous, lays it out, and then these footnotes all lead to good primary authority. So these footnotes are actually the things that you would cite in your document. You wouldn't cite Ohio jurisprudence because that's secondary authority. And it turns out, I didn't know it yet, but after I read through some of these cases, this Gezi one was really a good case. It had very similar language to our release of liability. Okay. Now, the other way, I'm going to switch over to Westlaw to show you the second approach, which is if you already know about releases of liability generally for your state and you just want to find information, or you want to find an identical case, then just throw in the identical facts. So I just literally copied the facts, the release language right from the practice, and I put it in here, and then I removed the AAA rentals because that was maybe too specific, but everything else I kept. I put in Ohio as the jurisdiction, and I ran it, and then you'll see here that the first two cases, this Gezi, we found through secondary authority as well. So that's corroboration. That tells us we're on the right path. And then the second case, Thompson, is also right on point. So either one of these has identical information. And the court said here in Thompson that they felt that the release language was just way too vague. And it's down here. Okay, so here's the actual release language that is similar to ours. And this is what the court said. There are several problems with this language. And basically they said that it was just too broad. It was too general. It didn't specify negligence, for example. So that's how we ended up with that. So there are two approaches. One, go through the whole process, use secondary authority. This Ohio jurisprudence was right on point, and that led to at least this Gezi case. And then the second approach is just go right to case law, and that led to this additional case, Thompson, which was right on point. Now, this took me about 45 minutes to research, and here I'm showing you in like a 5-minute video. So it is a long process to do that. So if your research wasn't as smooth as this 5-minute video, that's to be expected, because my research wasn't either. It took figuring out that I needed to put in amusement or recreation. So anyway, there you go, and I'll see you back in the book.